Right then, welcome to our real-world test of how different vehicles handle a 2-inch speed breaker. Now I know what you're thinking, a 2-inch speed breaker, is that all? And you'd be right to scoff normally. But this isn't just any lump of tarmac. It's a carefully calibrated instrument of vehicular torture, a tiny mountain designed to expose the very soul, or lack thereof, of a car's underpinnings. We're not just looking for a bit of a bounce. We're probing the depths of engineering genius and, in some cases, utter folly. Today, we're taking a veritable menagerie of machines from the absurdly low to the impossibly tall and subjecting them to this modest yet surprisingly revealing challenge. We'll be examining the suspension power and safety of each vehicle. Forget your Nürburgring lap times and your 0 to 60 sprints for a moment. This, my friends, is where the rubber really meets the road, or, in some unfortunate cases, where the sump meets the unforgiving asphalt. It's about comfort, yes, but it's also about whether your car will simply disintegrate when faced with the kind of obstacle councils seem to breed in the dead of night. We've got supercars that cost more than your house, rugged off-roaders that laugh in the face of mountains, and even a humble tractor. Each one will face the dreaded 2-incher, and we'll be there, cameras rolling to capture every groan, every scrape, and every moment of surprising grace. Will it be a symphony of smooth sailing or a cacophony of clangs and expensive noises? Let's find out. This is going to be illuminating and possibly quite damaging. First up, the Lamborghini, a machine designed for speed, for drama, for turning heads, and frankly, for roads smoother than a baby's. Well, you get the picture. Its ground clearance is measured in hope rather than inches. Approaching our 2-inch nemesis, it looks less like a car and more like a very expensive wedge about to meet a very unyielding piece of public infrastructure. You can almost hear its Italian heart weeping, pleading for mercy. The question isn't if it will scrape, but how much of its precious carbon fiber underbelly will be left behind as a sacrifice to the gods of road calming. We send it over, gingerly of course, or at least as gingerly as one can in a V12 behemoth. The noise, oh the noise, it's a symphony of scraping, a chorus of cringes from anyone with even a shred of mechanical sympathy. It's the sound of money being turned into sparks and regret. This isn't just a test of suspension, it's a test of your bank balance's resilience. The Lamborghini, magnificent on the Autostrada, is utterly, comically and expensively out of its depth here. It's like asking a ballerina to navigate a minefield. Beautiful, yes, but fundamentally unsuited for the task at hand. And now, from one Italian thoroughbred to another, the Ferrari. Cut from a similar cloth, all sleek lines, roaring engine, and a ground clearance that suggests its designers have never encountered a British B-road. You'd think they'd learn, wouldn't you? But no, the pursuit of aerodynamic perfection often leaves little room for the practicalities of, say, not ripping your exhaust off on a molehill. The Ferrari eyes the 2-inch speed breaker with the same disdain its cousin, the Lambo, showed, but perhaps with a touch more aristocratic terror. It knows what's coming. The suspension on these things is a work of art, tuned for racetracks and millionaires' driveways. But our little bump, it's a brutal, blunt instrument against such finely honed engineering. As it creeps over, there's that familiar heart-sinking graunch. Not quite as violent as the Lambo, perhaps, a testament to a millimetre more thought in Maranello, or just blind luck. But still a sound that screams expensive repairs. The impact sends a shudder through its lightweight chassis, a reminder that these cars are built for speed, not for surviving the urban jungle's many pitfalls. Another one for the avoid speed breakers at all costs list. Next, something entirely different, the Tesla. A car that's more computer than combustion, packed with silicon chips and clever electrons. It boasts an advanced adaptive suspension system that, in theory, should see this 2-inch speed breaker, analyze it, and float over it like a swan gliding on a lake. Or at least, that's the brochure talking. We've all heard the promises of smart suspension, haven't we? But can it really outwit such a rudimentary physical challenge designed by, let's be honest, people who probably still use carrier pigeons? As the Tesla approaches, there's a quiet hum, a sense of digital contemplation. It hits the bump and, well, it's certainly less dramatic than the Italian supermodels. The suspension does its thing, absorbing a good portion of the impact, but it's not entirely without event. There's a noticeable thud, a reminder that even clever air springs and adaptive dampers have their limits. And one must always consider the underside of these electric behemoths' vast, flat battery packs. While protected, a particularly nasty encounter with something sharper or taller than our test bump could, theoretically, lead to a rather shocking bill. Clever, yes, but not entirely invulnerable. Now for a vehicle that positively scoffs at the very concept of a 2-inch speed breaker, the Mahindra Thar. This isn't a car that worries about manicured racetracks or smooth boulevards. It's built to conquer terrain that would make a mountain goat think twice. Its off-road capabilities are legendary. Its suspension designed to articulate, to absorb, to simply not care about what lies beneath its chunky tires. Our little bump is, to the Thar, less of an obstacle and more of a minor road imperfection it might not even register. It rumbles towards the speed breaker with a confident swagger. There's no hesitation, no delicate approach. It simply drives over it. There's a gentle lift, a slight compression of the long travel suspension, and then it's on its way completely unfazed. The occupants barely notice. This is what the Thar was born to do, to treat rough terrain with contemptuous ease. For the Thar, our 2-inch speed breaker isn't a challenge. It's a light snack, a mere appetizer before it goes looking for some real mountains to climb. Finally, a vehicle that understands what roads are actually like for most of us. All right, prepare for a real titan of the terrain, a machine for whom the term speed breaker is frankly laughable. The humble yet utterly indomitable tractor. This isn't designed for posing, nor for setting lap records. It's designed for one thing: hard, unrelenting work on surfaces that make our 2-inch bump look like a freshly paved runway. Its suspension, if you can even call it that in the conventional sense, is robust, agricultural, and built to withstand punishment that would make a tank wince. It's pure, unadulterated utility. As this beast of burden trundles towards our test obstacle, there's an air of inevitability. The massive, deeply treaded tires approach the bump. The bump, in turn, probably feels a sense of impending doom. The tractor rolls over it without the slightest hint of acknowledgement. It's as if the speed breaker simply ceased to exist, flattened into insignificance by the sheer agricultural might. No fuss, no drama, just relentless forward progress. If you want to guarantee a smooth passage over any speed breaker ever, forget your fancy air suspension. You need a tractor. Utterly brilliant. Now we shift gears, quite literally, to something with only 2 wheels, the motorbike, and here the stakes change dramatically. For a car, a speed breaker is an inconvenience, a potential source of damage. For a motorbike, especially if hit at speed or unexpectedly, it can be a genuine hazard, a recipe for a very unpleasant meeting with the tarmac. The rider is the suspension in many ways, and their ability to react and absorb the jolt is paramount. This isn't about scraped sumps, it's about rider safety. If a biker hits this 2-inch protuberance unawares, perhaps going a little too enthusiastically, the front wheel can be kicked up, the steering can go light, and balance can be catastrophically lost. Even at moderate speeds, it's a jolt that goes straight through the wrists, up the arms, and into the spine. The bike's suspension will do its best, but there's only so much it can absorb. The potential for the rear wheel to lose traction, or for the whole machine to become unsettled, is very real. This little bump, so trivial for some, demands maximum respect from our 2-wheeled friends. And now for something completely opulent, the Rolls-Royce. A car that costs more than a small island and promises a ride quality so serene, so isolated from the vulgarities of the road, that it's often described as a magic carpet. Its suspension is a fiendishly complex amalgamation of air springs, adaptive dampers, and probably a team of tiny, well-dressed gnomes, working tirelessly to ensure her ladyship's champagne remains unspilled. But can even this pinnacle of automotive comfort truly conquer the abruptness of our 2-inch speed breaker? As the roller wafts towards the obstacle, there's an almost imperceptible sigh from its air suspension, as if it's mildly annoyed at being disturbed. It glides over the bump with astonishing composure. There's a muted thud, more felt than heard, a distant acknowledgement that something has indeed passed beneath. Inside, it's likely that the occupants, busy counting their money or planning their next hostile takeover, barely registered a thing. It's not quite defying physics, but it's certainly giving it a stern talking to. A masterful display of how to isolate very important people from very unimportant road features. Let's bring things back down to earth, to a vehicle that's a common sight on roads that are often more pothole than pavement. The Mahindra Bolero. This is a rugged, no-nonsense workhorse designed for durability and practicality rather than outright speed or luxury. It's built to handle the rough and tumble of rural routes and challenging urban landscapes, where speed breakers like ours are just part of the daily commute. Its design philosophy is simple: keep going, no matter what. The Bolero approaches the 2-inch bump with a sense of stoic determination. It doesn't have the fancy air suspension of the Rolls or the long travel bounce of the Thar, but it has a solidity, a robustness that inspires confidence. It takes the hit with a firm but not jarring thud. The occupants will know they've crossed a speed breaker, no doubt about it. But the vehicle itself feels like it could do this all day long without complaint. It's a testament to a design that prioritizes resilience, proving that you don't need cutting-edge tech to deal with everyday obstacles effectively. Finally, we have another popular SUV, the Mahindra Scorpio. Like its sibling, the Bolero, it's engineered with the realities of varied road conditions in mind, but perhaps with a bit more of an eye towards passenger comfort and modern SUV sensibilities. Its suspension system is designed to offer a balance between off-road capability and on-road composure. So, how does this translate when faced with our standardized 2-inch challenge? Will it absorb it gracefully or make a meal of it? The Scorpio tackles the speed breaker with a competence you'd expect from a vehicle in its class. There's a clear absorption of the impact, more refined than the Bolero perhaps, but still letting you know the obstacle was there. It doesn't float over it like the Rolls, nor does it dismiss it with the disdain of the Thar, but it handles it without any significant drama or concern for underbody damage. It's a practical, well-judged response, suggesting that for everyday encounters with these urban annoyances, the Scorpio is perfectly well equipped to take them in its stride, ensuring the journey continues with minimal fuss. So there we have it. Our 2-inch speed breaker, a seemingly insignificant mound, has managed to separate the vehicular wheat from the chaff, the sublime, from the scraping, the tractors, from the very expensive sports cars that probably shouldn't leave their climate-controlled garages. We've seen that low-slung exotica views these things as automotive Everest, while rugged off-roaders and agricultural heroes treat them with the contempt they arguably deserve. And the luxury barges? They simply deploy their technological magic to pretend the bump isn't even there. In conclusion, while some vehicles handle speed breakers better than others, it's crucial to drive carefully and be aware of your vehicle's limitations. That £200,000 supercar might look fantastic, but it's no match for a poorly placed bit of tarmac if you're not paying attention. Conversely, knowing your sturdy SUV or your even sturdier tractor can take it in its stride offers a certain peace of mind. The key, as always, is understanding the machine you're in control of and treating these common road features with the respect or cautious disdain they warrant. Ultimately, whether you're in a fire-breathing Italian stallion or a dependable Indian workhorse, that little bump is a great leveler. It reminds us that all the power and all the technology in the world can still be humbled by a simple piece of road design. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-world car tests. We've got plenty more madness and maybe even some useful information coming your way. On that bombshell, it's time to end. Good night.